let's talk about how Trump keeps winning.
The goodest boy. The goodest of good boys who didn't do nothing twice.
Apparently not.
So, likes and MAGAs in the chat for this one, because it's a good one. Anyway, so we covered previously how the Democrats had brought impeachment articles against President Trump for the second time, and then they put their case forward a few days ago, and it was really bad, like really, really bad for them. They kept getting caught out faking things, and then started to misquote people, and then just gave up on the argument that he incited a riot completely, and started just saying that he said that the election wasn't valid, therefore he deserves to be impeached. So it's just like, okay, so there is no impeachment trial here. This is a waste of everyone's time. And then it was Trump's lawyers' time to come in and give the counter-argument. And the counter-argument was like hitting a child. Like, you could just see how much fun they had with it, watching it, where they're just like, what's wrong with you? Why would you come out and fake tweets to try and prove your case? Like, we get to respond. Did you think this was a show trial? Like, where they were just going to give their side and then nothing else would happen. And it's good. So I mentioned that they doxed a bunch of tweets to make them look more important than they were. There were just false statements where they just said a guy said a thing and he didn't, and they had to accept that that was a lie and retract it from the record. Oof. They also edited out Trump, as you showed on the podcast, which was they showed him saying that, you know, this is wrong, that's wrong, and then cut when the next line was, and peaceably and patriotically make your voices heard at the Capitol. Yep. They had to cut that because that didn't fit the narrative. And we're not going to play all the clips from this, but I want to play one clip, which is just this defense from the lawyers. They kept playing clips of just Democrats. So the Democrats would argue, you said fight. And they're like, okay, here's literally every senator who's a Democrat saying the word fight. And it was like a 10-minute long clip of just them. But this, I wanted to play one that's just good. It's just them in multiple elections saying every time they lose, it's not a legitimate election. So if you want to go for that, then that's not gonna fly. So let's play.
Manager Raskin, you'd been in Congress only 3 days when you objected in 2017. It's one of the first things you did when you got here.
I have an objection because 10 of the 29 electoral votes cast by Florida were cast by electors not lawfully certified.
Is the objection in writing and signed not only by the member of the House of Representatives, but also by a senator?
It is in writing, Mr. President.
Is it signed by a senator?
Not as of yet, Mr. President.
In that case, the objection cannot be entertained.
Mr. President, I object to the certificate from the state of Georgia on the grounds that the electoral votes were not...
There's no debate.
I object to a certificate from the state of North Carolina based on violations of the Voting Rights Act.
There's no debate in the joint session.
I object because people are horrified by the overwhelming evidence.
Section 18, Title 3 of the United States Code prohibits debate.
I object.
I've objected to the counting of the electoral votes of the state of Ohio.
I object to the certificate from the state of Alabama. The electors were not lawfully certified.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina because of the massive voter suppression and the closing of polling booths.
There's no debate. There's no debate.
16
There's
to 1,
no debate.
And the massive voter suppression that occurred to African Americans.
The gentleman will suspend.
I have an objection to the electoral votes.
The objection is in writing, and I don't care that it is not signed by a member of the Senate.
I do not wish to debate. I wish to ask, is there one United States senator who will join me in this letter of objection?
There's no debate.
The objection is signed by a member of the House, but not yet by a member of the Senate.
Well, it is over.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
He knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did.
There are still legitimate concerns over the integrity of our elections and of ensuring the principle of one person, one vote.
I agree with tens of millions of Americans who are very worried that when they cast the ballot on an electronic voting machine, that there is no paper trail to record that vote.
But constantly shifting vote tallies in Ohio and malfunctioning electronic machines which may not have paper receipts have led to additional loss of confidence by the public. This is their only opportunity to have this debate while the country is listening, and it is appropriate to do so.
So I know that was a bit long, but that's a cut down of the amount of clips they played. Endlessly.
Return to pottery shards. I agree. Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi.
But some people might be wondering, because the charge of impeachment was on the basis that he incited a group of people to storm the Capitol. Why are we talking about his rhetoric around this thing? Yeah. Because that has nothing to do with incitement. It's because they just gave up on the charge of incitement after the first day. They were just like, look, we can't get him on the words, so instead we're going to go after him and quote on the big lie. So the idea that he claimed that the election wasn't legitimate and this incited people to do it, and therefore that's how incitement law works, and it's not. Nope. That's not how it works at all. So
in fact, you have a First Amendment that guarantees his ability to say things that you think aren't true.
Which is what all of you guys have been doing for years upon years upon years. This is just part of American politics. When one side loses, the other side makes a bit ruckus about how the election was conducted. And that's fine. And then you investigate what is true and what's not true. And then that's the end of it. That's how it's meant to work. Because the opposite is we never allow people to say that anything's gone wrong with an election, which is an absurd place to go.
Obviously.
Because how does someone contest it then? But anyway, this is also a great time for the Trump campaign because they didn't get Trump in to give evidence, but they could then use it as a bullpit to just exonerate every lie that's been told about it before. Yeah. So the next link is just them doing this with the Charlottesville Fine People hoax.
Oh, yes.
So they just played the clip that the media show of him saying very fine people, and then it pauses and they play the rest of the clip on another side that just shows him saying, I'm not talking about neo-Nazis, I'm not talking about white supremacists.
No, he expressly says, not talking about either of the two groups they're actually fighting, but, supporters on both sides, they're very fine people. He's very clear about it, actually.
Yeah, so they had
Which is surprising for Trump, to be fair.
So they had a great time disproving that because every network was running footage from the impeachment being like, haha, we're going to get him.
Yeah.
And instead, Trump's team could just be like, hey, this is how the media lies to you, to everyone who's watching the media right now. Wonderful. The next point was Ted Cruz putting a question here. So they were saying, in regards to Kamala Harris with the bail fund that she retweeted to get people out of bail who were to get people out of jail who were rioting. Yep. Does a politician raising bail for rioters encourage more rioting? So there's just a number of jabs in there that were also fun. And then the next one here is just Ted Cruz's response to him sitting listening to all this. So it's a Simpsons meme for people who can't see, the nuke the whales meme.
Bomb the Arabs and take their oil. Bomb the Indians and take their casinos. Nuke the whales. Oh my God.
But then Lisa Simpson's saying, you don't really believe that, do you? It's like, that's what dealing with the Democrats is like.
Yeah.
Got to believe in something, I guess, even if you know it's false. And then the last one here is just their response. And this is amazing. So this was the one of the Democrats running the impeachment trial against Trump. That after watching them, so the Democrats made the argument, here's your rhetoric, and then a bunch of violence happened, therefore you're guilty of it. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, if we're going to take that stance, here's all your rhetoric about Black Lives Matter and a bunch of Black Lives Matter Antifa violence. Are you guys all guilty of it? And the response to that point, which is that, obviously, if you're going to claim one is illegal, the other has to be illegal. No. Because we were brown women saying this. Like, she literally says in this video that because the people being shown in the video are overwhelmingly brown and female, therefore it's not a comparison that's valid to make.
So it's okay when we do it.
But only on the basis of your race and gender.
Amazing.
Like, what you say is irrelevant. It's all that
Amazing.
matters. So they're winning when they are reduced to that.
Well, when they're appealing to race and gender privileges.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all they had. And then it got to the witnesses. So this was a big kerfuffle. So usually you bring witnesses onto a trial to give testimony about what happened. And they decided not to after some back and forth because the Republicans just came out and were like, yeah, we're going to have at least 301 witnesses. Up to you if you want to do witnesses or not. We're fine to do it. Because the argument from their side was like, wow, okay, if you're going to bring your witnesses on, we're going to bring all ours and we're going to be exonerated. And they wanted to call Nancy Pelosi as a witness just to grill her over the whole thing. Which would have been amazing.
Yeah, it could have ended up looking really bad for the Democrats, couldn't it?
Yeah. So I imagine that's what happened. They thought they were going to get their witnesses and then, I don't know.
Well, they wanted to do that to Trump, didn't they?
Yeah. And then they couldn't get that. And then the Trump team were like, right, we're going to have 300. We're going to drag this out for 4 years, I guess. Because that was 301 so far. Like on his bit of paper, you could see he was like, so far. I'm going to add more. They buckled and were like, let's just not do witnesses at all. Because I think at this point as well, they understand they'd lost. There was no way they were going to get the numbers or to prove that this was the case. And there are a bunch of verified check marks who were very upset with this decision not to call witnesses. So we'll just fly through these. So, well, Raskin, you did a great impeachment, but no one will ever understand why you walked away from calling witnesses. It's because you didn't have a case. That's why. So then the next one. Impeachment trials normally include witnesses. Well, not this time, buddy. Not going to happen. Then the next one is some guy complaining about why didn't they bring witnesses? Because if we're going to run this whole trial, like, why didn't we go full hog? Like, if you think you're going to lose, why run the whole thing? Because this was a mess up, I think. So we were chatting just before the show started. I think that they had the Capitol storming, and then they thought, right, we can get him on this. We can definitely get him. Like, they just themselves and went for it. And then realized a few weeks after, actually, we don't have a legal case.
Yep.
So we're kind of stuck with this impeachment now.
It wasn't as bad as we had hyped it up to be on Twitter, and we kind of sold it a bit high, and now we're stuck with it.
Yeah. And then the next one here is the Democratic coalition trying to also be like, cool witnesses, we need to do this. It's like, no, you don't. Like, you guys are absolutely screwed. You've got nothing, and you know it.
I love this. If we don't convict Trump this time, it'll be a disaster for American democracy. Why is that? If he did nothing wrong, why is that a disaster for democracy? Will it not be very fortified if that's the case? Anyway, Karen.
And then the next one is just them talking about Pelosi. Like, why did the Democrats run away like a bunch of pansies when the Republicans wanted to put Pelosi on the stand? What are they afraid of? I wonder. I very much wonder. And we got to see some of the behind the scenes here because thanks to Ted Cruz. So Ted Cruz met with Trump's team beforehand and apparently during and then after as well. I don't know, high-fiving or something.
Okay, good.
And this was a clip where he did an interview on, I think it's the Daily Wire, and he's talking to Michael Knowles about the strategy that we're going to come up with this. And it's really interesting to watch because he's just like, well, we met with them and we just told them, you've got the numbers, so don't rock the boat. Just come there, point out their nonsense and leave. You don't have to attack anyone, and you'll be fine. No one will care. And that is what happened. They got the numbers, and it's done. So the next link here is just the acquittal. The news coming out that these are the Republicans here who are traitors and decided to side with the Democrats on the basis that they won't be eaten, they swear. Which, no, you're getting in there.
Good luck, Mitt.
Camps. And the response from the check marks again of Trump being acquitted for the second time, the most acquitted president in U.S. history, was that this has to do with white supremacy.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's what this is all about.
The 43 GOP members have handed a victory to white supremacy today. # impeachment. And then the next one.
Javier Munoz. Oh, Camus Bell. Oh, God.
And because America's system of white supremacy can't work without putting its pasty. Torbid thumb on the scale, Donald Trump was acquitted even though he lost the popular vote again. Yeah, of course, it's got to do with white supremacy.
The popular vote doesn't matter, and this has got nothing to do with the vote itself anyway. Anyway.
They had nothing. And then this is just some cope from one of these people. House managers utterly vindicated.
Hang on. Jennifer who says Jennifer pro-reality Rubin. That is amazing. If you know anything about her, like Dave Rubin has essentially had a constant Twitter spat with her because they share a surname despite not being related, and he's just been like, look, I disavow every lunatic thing she says. But 38,000 likes, I guess, you know.
So after losing the impeachment on the facts and being outvoted, House managers utterly vindicated. How? They just lost. They just got destroyed.
Well, I mean, they got every vote possible, which is just not enough.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they've got. So the last thing here is just Nancy Pelosi. Like, her response was not going to play it, but she was just literally shaking the whole time. Like, you should watch this video. Like, she just walks out and she's like, like hovering or something. Like, she's really, really mad. And she's like banging on the table about how these cowardly Republicans have let democracy die. Like,
oof.
Okay, love.
Sorry to hear it, Nancy.
So Trump's response on this was tweeting out, gabbing out an image, and the image was his full response. To be honest, I didn't find it that interesting, but the last part I found interesting, saying that the MAGA movement has only just begun. So he was like, look, in a few months I'm going to come back with some news.
Okay.
And we're going to do things. It's like, okay. I'm hyped. I'm up for this. And then Donald Trump Jr. Posting on Twitter that MAGA is ascending as well.
Good.
But the last thing I wanted to play here was one of Trump's lawyers gave an interview to CBS. So they just won victory time. They just proven that the Democrats were utterly lying about this, and this. You know, the tweets, the fake statements, the clipped video. And this interview is great because it just illustrates the problem that it's actually kind of a weakness that the media are all Democrats because it means they just perpetuate their own nonsense. And it means they end up living in a fake world. So let's play the second clip here of him with this interview because it's just amazing.
Were you, though, surprised to hear those words coming from the leader of the Republican Party in the Senate?
I'm not surprised to hear a politician say anything at all. No.
Let's follow up with a point that you're making right now about the House managers, as you say, doctoring evidence, and the argument
they didn't
to be
deny
clear
it.
of yours.
They didn't deny it. I put it in front of them 3 times.
To be clear for our viewers, what you're talking about now is a check mark. That's a verification on Twitter that did not exist on that particular tweet. A 2020 that should have actually read 2021, and the selective editing, you say, of the tapes. Is that the doctored evidence of what you're speaking?
Wait. That's not enough for you? That's not enough for you?
Wait.
No,
Sir,
no.
I'm trying.
I can't believe you would ask me a question indicating that it's all right just to doctor a little bit of evidence.
You have won the acquittal of your client.
Yes,
and if you'd
I
like
did.
to continue to talk about this conversation, we can have that discussion.
I don't need to.
But for me to ask a question. But for me to ask a question to clarify for our viewers,
a slanted question that was set up to say it's okay for them to cheat. That was your question. Isn't it okay for them to cheat?
I didn't
it's
say
just
that.
a little bit. You said, to be fair, it was only a check on the Twitter. That's what you said. You got to live by your words. That's the problem. The media has to start living by the truth and not try to create a narrative.
Michael Van Der Veen, thank you for joining us. I do appreciate.
Yep.
Okay.
Who is this legendary Chad?
See, he was one of his lawyers that was defending him on the floor.
It's totally destroyed that.
Just had enough with these people. And he's totally right. Like, the defense was, it's only a little bit of cheating.
Yeah.
So, don't care.
We can talk about this. I don't need to talk about this. I just won.
I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
So this is just a meme of like... it really brings back memories of the victory in 2016 for me, where you're getting the same energy.
Yeah.
But I just love this. The other side literally tried to doctor evidence to then present it as being more important or to lie about what was really going on.
Literally presented false statements.
Yeah. And they thought they would get away with this. And I'm just like, why would you do that? Like, what did you think was going to happen? I don't understand. And then the Trump campaign came in and they just tore them to shreds. They're like, all of your words are nonsense. Here's all you guys doing exactly what you accuse him of. Here's all your evidence. And here's how it's all made up. Like adding fake check marks to things, changing the date on things, false statements, deceptively editing.
Yeah.
And they had nothing. They utterly retracted themselves, got rid of all the ideas of bringing up witnesses, and they're done. Like completely routed. It's over. There's nothing there.
Excellent.
Good.
I can't get over how investigated Donald Trump has been, and they've found absolutely nothing. Like, after all the Russia investigations, after this, after everything, it's like, of all the people who turned out to be squeaky clean in American public life, if you'd gone back 10 years and said to me it'd be Donald Trump, I'd be like, okay, sure. The billionaire playboy's done nothing wrong. Okay, yeah. But it turns out after, probably tens or hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investigations and all of this time in the courts and all of the, intelligence agencies, it turns out he did nothing wrong.
Literally. He's the goodest boy alive in politics.
The most pure man in America happens to have been Donald Trump.